It's finally here. It's been a long 14 years since the release of 007 Legends, the last console game in the Bond franchise, and something like 6 years since IO Interactive announced they would be developing the Bond games moving forward. And of course, that long wait only made me want to play 007 First Light as soon as possible. I am now about 7 hours in, which I'm guessing is about 25% of the way through the story mode. And I thought I'd give my impressions as a Bond fan, a game fan, and just a dude who's been anxiously waiting for a glimpse of what this series that means so much to me looks like in the post-Eon era.
Do you have an appointment?
The name's Bond.
James Bond. He's with me.
You sound familiar.
Now, besides the first reveal trailer, I've strayed clear of any marketing for this game, so no clips, previews, opinions from YouTubers, or anything else. I also have not played any of IO's Hitman games, which I'm guessing would be the natural point of comparison, so I'm tackling this from a genuinely fresh perspective. It's also worth noting that I've made zero research or even really sat down and gave my brain enough time to process the game so far. These are more my off-the-cuff, top-of-mind feelings as I'm playing. I'm going to break this down a bit more later on, but let me just start by saying that my impressions of the game so far are overwhelmingly positive, with a little caveat that I'll discuss further ahead.
I want to make you a spy.
You what?
I want you to join my training program. Though, I have to warn you, it's unlikely you'll pass the tests.
To begin with, I just want to compliment the entire IO team on just how well they managed to create an interesting and cohesive new world for the franchise. It, of course, borrows heavily from Daniel Craig's era of Bond, being the most recent one, especially Casino Royale. But taking the character even further back to his mid-20s in the modern era really does wonders to make everything feel fresh, especially for a long-time fan like myself. It is a decision that, truth be told, I wasn't completely sold on when it was first revealed, but now I am a believer through and through. Every chapter I've played so far is moody, tense, cinematic, and exciting in equal measure. And yet, they've managed to genuinely balance it with funny and down-to-earth moments.
Don't mind her. Trust me. You don't want to miss out on this.
What the? You're sweet-talking that cow right in front of me.
Overall, they've created a unique take on Bond that feels true to the films and books in a way that no other video game has done. Now, let's talk gameplay, which for me is split into 3 parts: investigation, action, and driving. The main selling point here, for me at least, and the highlight so far being the investigation segments. You are thrown into large levels populated with all kinds of people and things, and to get past certain obstacles and reach your goals, you must investigate your surroundings. This includes eavesdropping on mates in a high-luxury hotel to figure out who is occupying the room you're trying to access and find a way into it, hacking the cell phone of a crypto bro in an African black market, and just generally interact with people and things to find clues that lead you to your objectives, which more often than not is a suspicious person relevant to the story that you're trying to neutralize.
Not exactly the 5-star treatment.
If you're ever caught, there are more than a few tools at your disposal. Bond's classic gadgets are here, and they can be used to distract, put to sleep, shock, or escape. This is probably all too familiar for people who've played Hitman, and even something like the Batman Arkham series or the new Spider-Man games. But the Bond take of bringing it all back down to earth is what makes it more fun for me. When all else fails, you can of course melee your way through complicated situations, except that, unlike those games, you're not floating from place to place beating the shit out of 100 goons in succession. The combat here is more grounded, and though you're wholly dependent on the timing of the parry system, it feels dirtier, messier, each punch carrying a lot of weight to it, both the ones you give and the ones you receive. It's an incredibly satisfying system that hits a peak early on in a mini-boss fight against henchmen twins. It's in these types of moments when the mechanics truly shine. The tension of grabbing one of them and pushing him to the wall as bottles break all around you, before the other one is able to hit you and knock you out cold, is just excellently built. This is the type of combat that feels like a natural heir to similar fights in From Russia with Love and The Living Daylights. Also part of the action sequences is of course the shooting segments. It wouldn't be a Bond game otherwise. These are your standard AAA game fare. Basically third-person shooting focused on taking cover. It's fluid and fun, but I wouldn't say it stands out in any particular way from the Uncharted and Last of Us of the world. I will say though, it is frustrating how little bullets guns can actually hold. Maybe that makes it more realistic, or maybe it's the developer's way of pushing its strongest suits, stealth and melee combat. But it makes it so that gunplay is my least favorite part of the game so far, functional as it is. Speaking of just functional, the driving sections are probably the most disappointing aspect of the game so far. Not because they're bad, they're definitely not. They play well and are fun enough, but at least the ones that I've played so far are the standard chase the enemy from point A to point B in a linear level. This is of course a tried and true formula for the franchise going all the way back to 007 Racing. But considering how open-ended and interesting the rest of the missions feel, these are comparatively archaic. At least they don't overstay their welcome, and are over fairly quickly. Like I said before, First Light is a AAA game through and through, which is a double-edged sword. On the one hand, things are appropriately cinematic and epic. When it gets going, it's absolutely relentless. A fist fight across multiple buildings while destroying walls, tables and more, controlling a crashing plane mid-air while fighting henchmen in the cargo dock, jumping from set plane without a parachute. It's all impressive as hell, and the build-up to these moments makes them all the more exciting. On the other hand, and this is the caveat I mentioned previously, even with the relatively small portion of the game I played, it suffers from the pacing problems that so often plague these types of games. It's very slow to get going, putting emphasis on very slowly and methodically building the characters and worlds. Long-ass walks or drives with other characters while they break down key story points in a way that's very reminiscent of, again, The Last of Us, or even something like God of War. And while that works well in those games because they're so emotionally packed that you need those breaks after a while, here it feels like it breaks the pacing a bit too much. Especially after very bombastic sequences that leave you just wanting more of that. There's also that very segmented structure of AAA games where it's very much like, okay, so here's the part where you investigate, and this is the part where you shoot, and this is the part where you drive, and they very rarely, if ever, mix with one another. Almost like mini episodes within each chapter. So yeah, this never strays too far from that type of game making. Your mileage may vary, but if you don't like those big cinematic single player games, or even if you just recently played one of them, this will very much feel like more of the same. For example, I played the first Tomb Raider reboot only a couple of months ago, and the similarities in style and storytelling kind of make certain moments of First Light a bit tiring. Not to the point where I'm not enjoying them, mind you, but still, it's something to keep in consideration. I don't want to delve too much into the story because I haven't seen the entire thing through, but so far, it is great. Again, the writers do a great job at creating a unique modern take on Bond, and surround him with a cast of charismatic characters. It even includes what's so far my favorite take on Moneypenny. Having her as your eyes on the field guiding you through each mission, while building a relationship with Bond is charming as hell.
Explosives. You're the ones running the retrieval mission.
Not officially.
And you set up a grid of high explosives covering the whole area.
It's a post-mission cleanup measure. Thermochemical sterilization. I didn't want you to get worried.
Chemical sterilization. What's to worry about?
Thermo. And it's quite safe. What's not, however, is you still out in the cold.
Yes. I know.
I know that's a lot to say considering this character has been there from the very beginning, but yeah, I love this interpretation. And though it borrows heavily from Skyfall and GoldenEye so far, each piece of the puzzle connects in a way that effectively builds tension and makes you care for the characters by giving everyone personal stakes in the story. I would also like to commend Patrick Gibson on his performance. He nails this Bond, giving him the rough edge and almost unearned confidence that Craig had, but never losing the charm of a Brosnan or Moore. But again, the youth is what makes all the difference here. He feels unique precisely because he's so young and not fully formed as a character that we know. And that adds so much more to his personality, which again gets some nails at every turn. It's a fantastic performance that is magnificently captured by the IO team. Elsewhere, as expected, the graphics are great, the sound is excellent, and the music in particular is fantastic. They just seem to have a perfect timing for when to kick in the Bond theme to make those moments so much more hair-raising. I also found the Lana Del Rey song to be worthy of a movie even, it's that good. And it's just nice to hear David Arnold back on Bond. Overall, I think First Light has the potential to become the definitive video game for Bond, in the same way that Spider-Man 2018 was for that character. I do hope that it sticks a landing both gameplay and story-wise, because I'm really enjoying it so far. It's a fully realized take on the character that I really can't wait to hop back on. So far, I'd give it 4 out of 5, and just let's see how that looks like once I'm finished. And that's it for this video. Thank you so much. I'm really excited about this game, really want to jump back into that. So thank you for watching if you did. I'm going to be back with a video about Agent Under Fire, which is a game that I've never played. It's kind of a wild whale for me. That's going to be a bit more scripted and a little more thorough, very different from this one, but I hope you enjoyed this one and you're looking forward to that one. So I'll see you in the next one.